the one question I have is, do you believe the Celtics would be 13-13 if you weren't missing Jaylen Brown for, as of tonight, more than half of your games so far? So I don't want to go down the whole road of like built-in excuses and that sort of thing, but when you're missing an all-star, which he is, that is obviously significant, unless you believe that he and Jason Tatum can't coexist and Tatum wouldn't be doing what he's doing if Brown were on the floor. And, that whole group of people, then maybe you still believe they would be right around 500. But, how much of an impact is that in where they stand at the moment?
Oh, I'm sure it is. And I bet they would have won a couple more games, but I think they'd still be infuriating. I think we could watch them and just say we drive us crazy watching them.
Yeah.
And the best thing I've heard, and this is the most promising thing I've heard all season from the Udoka, the coach, was when he said, I can't remember which game it was, but he said, our guys came out looking to develop themselves and then get their own games going and then get the team going. And we can't do that. And that summed up the whole thing. That's who these guys are as individuals. They're self-obsessed. They just don't see the bigger picture. It doesn't mean they can't. It just means they're immature as basketball players and as a team. This is like middle school kind of stuff where you're worried about your own game first, and then they should be way past that, but they aren't. And maybe part of it is just uncertainty with the messaging and how do you think through a game from a new point of view, which is what the new coach is trying to get them to do. But the fact that that's their mindset is really, really infuriating. And it rings true every so often when you watch them play. The good thing about that statement was that he isn't yelling about it. He's just saying what the facts are, and it's being done with respect. And I bet a lot of fans wish he would yell because they're all yelling at the TVs watching the games. But if he starts yelling, especially as a rookie coach who hasn't proved anything yet, I think he has a much better chance of reaching them if he says, look, we're all in this together. You're young, I'm young. This is how we've got to play. Let's come together. I'm listening to you. You need to listen to me. And develop that kind of partnership. He was working on that all last summer at the Olympics.
Well, I was going to say, wasn't that what the whole offseason, conversation was about? That was the whole narrative.
Exactly.
Especially with him getting hired with whether it was approval, influence, or both of Tatum and Brown.
Exactly. But again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not. If these guys are going into games looking to get themselves started, which we all know is true watching, then it just shows how far they have to go to develop it. It's not going to happen quickly. The good thing is the rest of the league has their own problems. I remember a famous coach said, I can't remember who, but never underestimate the probability that the other team is more messed up than you are. And that's like, and he used different language, but I think that's true of the whole NBA. And a lot of these other teams around 500, they wish they had the two guys that the Celtics have, Jason and Jaylen. So I don't know. Long-term view, I think, gives you some hope, and it's the only reasonable way to look at it.
If you're all about the long-term view,
yeah, I am. I think when you have two guys that are 23 and 25, you kind of have to have that in mind because of in I think the issue that we have here is Boston experienced a lot of success early on in this thing, and it warped our expectations for what this team could be at some point. The fact that they went to 3 Eastern Conference Finals in a span of 4 years, you speed your timeline up. It's like, holy crap, what do we have here? But now there's things like and the roles have changed significantly over the years, and this is the one thing. Like I guess. In terms of what Ian said, I'm not like pushing back in a way. I'm just thinking about it in a different context. Like you have a new GM, new head coach, young stars learning how to carry a team. This is not going to happen overnight. Like as much as people wanted to believe that Boston with a year of health, which you can't promise at any point in any season ever. And a couple of new fresh faces, having Al Horford back, like the continuity might change things, and Boston might be able to take that next step. Well, what has happened is, you have Marcus Smart becoming more of a facilitator and full-time actual point guard, as opposed to whatever he was in the past. And I don't even know what to label Marcus Smart other than he's just Marcus Smart at this point, right? You have Jason Tatum trying to become a bigger facilitator as everybody yells at him to try and make everybody else better. He's at least attempting to try and do that. If people want to come at me for like, oh, he's not making everybody better, like, no, he's done a pretty good job of trying to be a guy that dishes the ball around. Can you do a better job of it? Yes, but he's like never done this before. So I'm gonna give him a little bit of a break. Ime trying to figure out what rotations work, when to take timeouts. Remember, Brad, the first year, we didn't even know, when to really take timeouts to stop runs and all that stuff. Never mind try and develop things, whole different practice schedule than as opposed to college. Like, there's a lot of things that a lot of people are going to use to all at the same time. So Ab and I were talking pre-show here about maybe Boston, maybe the Celtics have to look at what their neighbors down the street, down the road, down the highway a little bit in Foxborough and say, look, the Patriots last year took a year and said, okay, this is the weirdest year ever. We're going to take a year to we'll get Cam Newton. We'll do this. We'll grab this. Let's just see what we have. And then, have a definitive statement of, okay, these guys are good. We need to upgrade here, 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 and here. And now here we are in 2021, 22, and the Pats are 8-4, number one seed in the Eastern in the AFC, and we're moving on here, and they look like they never left. So maybe Boston at this point has to say, okay, guys, like, this entire season is about a few things. One, getting everybody healthy again, which, we'll never know. But two, like, let's, and that's what's so frustrating to me, Ian, is guys like Aaron Nesmith, Peyton Pritchard are stuck on the bench and can't get off it. We don't get to see what they actually have. Now that also Dennis Schroeder is playing really well and Josh Richardson is playing really well. So there's also reason for that. But I feel like Boston is stuck without a direction. And it's kind of hard to pick what direction because, as you said, the rest of the league is just kind of all jumbled together. We don't know what to make of anybody at this point, right?